I was surprised about this last second move, but it was brilliant on the Knicks' part, bro. The whole question of who's gonna replace Isaiah Hartenstein. Now you got one, Karl-Anthony Towns, and him and Jalen Brunson. They work well together, bro. Karl-Anthony Towns can play off ball. He can stretch the floor, play in the paint.
Definitely.
What else can the Knicks ask for?
True, but they also depleted their roster at the same time. They depleted their roster, and it looks like Julius Randle. I can't wait till he gives the full story, but they were in negotiations for an extension since I think the beginning date was like August 8th, and
Yeah,
then in the middle of the month, Randle retweeted what a fan wrote or something saying that there was no Randle jerseys in the store, and then Randle added the Knicks, and the message said, "Oh, this is how you guys feel." And then that was like in the middle. That was almost into early September, and
yeah,
then
I
all of
remember
us,
that tweet.
yeah. So it seems I think they had a fallout with the negotiations, and that kind of spurred the Knicks to, okay, Randall's in his last year of his deal. At least let's get something back. And this is how this is how they end up getting Towns.
Also, like, there's reports of his wife. I think she made a tweet or a post where she made claims that, yo, I kind of want to leave. Like, she's made claims that they always wanted to leave for a while back.
I
So it
mean,
seems like,
yeah, some of the stuff she talks about was like family stuff, but Randall deserves. You see, this is where we was talking about before, where the league right now, there's guys that perform well enough to get paid decently, like Ingram, Randall. What's the guy that got re-signed? Laurie Marketing in Utah.
Laurie Martin. Yeah.
Yeah, these guys perform well enough to get paid, but teams, because of the new CBA, they're reluctant to pay these guys. And I don't think the Knicks had leverage to tell Randall, like, yo, take a discount.
Yeah.
I'm not really seeing that. And honestly, no one's really talking about it, but Randall actually has much better numbers than Karl-Anthony Towns.
No,
Not
he had a
only
bigger role than Karl-Anthony
he
Towns.
did, but the Knicks were winning at the same time. This is the part no one seems to remember. When OG first got traded to the Knicks, that month of January, Randall was a
Yeah.
big part of that stretch where the Knicks won 15 games. He was throwing out crazy assists. The guy got traded averaging 24, 10, and 5. There's not too many players in the league that average that. And Towns, you look at his numbers, he just averages 19. He gets his rebounds, but he averages like barely 3 assists a game. And I think that's where the Knicks need the playmaking. They need Towns to actually be a playmaker. And could he actually fulfill that role? I don't know. I think
I mean, he doesn't have a 9-year track history. In his 9-year track history, he's never been known as the playmaker or a guy who, like, can make extra plays for anyone else, like Jokic or Embiid, you know?
but that's the role that the Knicks needed. That's the role that Randall kind of served. It wasn't just about the scoring. He also playmake to Dante, playmake to others. And then speaking of Dante, that's another loss for the Knicks. I didn't know, but in the second half of last year, he averaged about 22 points per game.
Yeah.
So the last, I believe, 30 games, his averages was crazy. And same thing in the Pacers series, he averaged over 20 points a game in that 7-game series in the second round. So the Knicks kind of gave up. They kind of gave up a lot, and they had to attach a draft pick. That told me that those negotiations with Randall, it completely fell off, especially with that tweet from Randall. If you look at
Yeah.
it, he added the Knicks in the conversation. It's
Yeah,
very
100%.
unfortunate.
They had to give up their best six man. Now the question is, how would their bench perform, right? Because you remember when a lot of the key players went down and Deontay DiVincenzo, you stepped up big for you guys. So now the question becomes is who is now going to be that off the bench spark for the Knicks?
Yeah, perhaps Deuce McBride.
Yeah.
They got a couple. Tyler Kolek. They got a new draft pick.
So they got to hope for the young players to pan out.
True, and then they got a couple of polished vets. I don't want to say Cameron Payne's gonna do something, but they got Cameron Payne,
He's like an
Shamit.
eighth man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but at least they got some serviceable guys in that role position. But it's gonna be interesting to see how Tibbs kind of mix and matches these lineups with the starters along with the bench unit. But
Also,
Towns is definitely gonna be on the hook to like put in work. He's got to put in work in New York. It can't be like
I think
Minnesota.
fatigue probably also played a big part in this too, man. I think Randall's lack of availability has hurt has not hurt the Knicks, but hurt his value big time. So that's probably why the New York Knicks decided, like, oh, he's 30, plus he's kind of has a track history of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So I guarantee that also played a role into why they made this move with Karl-Anthony Towns. Like you said, there's going to be a lot of questions, right? I think Mikal Bridges will expect to play a bigger role.
Yeah,
It's I don't know. I don't
Josh
know.
Hart is
Yeah,
starting. For the preseason game they had the other day, Josh Hart actually started. Their lineup was very interesting. They kind of went top heavy in that starting lineup, and then
yeah.
they're trying to figure out their bench unit with McBride. He kind of went off in that first preseason game, but
Honestly, I'd rather have Josh Hart off the bench. To be honest with you, well, what is the starting lineup looking like?
it's
Jalen.
yeah, it's basically all the top guys, and then you add
So
Josh Hart in there.
Jalen Hart. You got both wings. Mikel, OG, and
Mm-hmm.
then who's the fifth guy?
Uh, you got Josh Hart, McHale, OG, Brunson, and Towns.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
got it.
so
My math
yes,
is bad.
so like I said, they went really top heavy with the starting unit. But at the end of the day, that starting unit, that's a hell of a starting unit, though. I'm not gonna lie. You got two dynamic 3-and-D wings. One could actually create for himself.
It matches up well against the Pacers, against
Correct.
the Philly, against the Celtics. Those are the most important teams. So it matches up against those guys for sure.
I'm wondering how this time around with Tibbs and Towns, how is it gonna work out? Because now Towns doesn't necessarily have the power in the relationship anymore like he did in Minnesota, where he's like, I'm the star player. I don't
He's
like
a lot older
Tibbs.
too.
Yeah, he's a lot older now. I mean, him being older actually should be a good thing. Now he understands what Tibbs was trying to do in
Yeah,
Minnesota,
I know.
trying to get him to a different place. Cause what's funny thing about Towns, he's a great scorer, but on a defensive side, the fact that they got Rudy Gobert to come in for the T Wolves to kind of get him away from that position so they could better defend. It kind of says a lot. The man hasn't played center in 2 years. Now he's
Yeah.
on the Knicks. We're gonna see what Tibbs kind of how Tibbs kind of finesses these rotations, especially,
Also,
oh my bad, especially when Mitchell Robinson comes back, I believe in December.
do you really see a future for Mitchell Robinson? Because I could see the Knicks trying to get more assets out of him. I could see a team like the Pelicans making a call for Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, I could see it too. I mean, unfortunately, Mitch has not really been healthy. He's been a great asset
Throughout his
though. I
career.
mean, he's a second round pick. The Knicks
Yeah,
developed
one hundred
him.
percent.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, the Knicks they have a lot of questions, but also they have a lot of upside, I should say.
Yeah.
But that Brunson Towns pick and roll, whew, that's gonna be deadly. That's gonna be up there with it's setting up to be up there with Maxi and Bede and Jokic and Murray. It's like one of
Yeah.
those type of pick and rolls. It's especially Brunson's pull up three. His pull up game, well, man, it's much improved. I'm not gonna lie, much improved.
I
And
agree.
it's and then you got Bridges and OG in the wings. Woo, that's
Both great off-ball
deadly,
players
man.
throughout their careers.
Yeah. And if they,
Yeah.
if they attack the lane, they miss. You got Josh Hart. He's gonna be trying to grab those offensive boards. Like that's kind of a deadly combination right there. But again, with the Knicks, it's unfortunate because a lot of this NBA stuff is about luck. And I think they
Yeah.
kind of fell into a bad situation with Randall getting hurt, and then also Hartenstein, increasing his value so high that the Knicks were
Yeah.
unable to match in the offseason because of the way, the bird rights is structured. So they end up losing him. So that kind of caused a domino effect for them to get rid of Randall. But honestly, I would think the Knicks would have had a better time keeping Dante. Had they renewed Hartenstein and kept Randall, that would have been interesting right there. The team probably wouldn't have been as dynamic, but they're very deep. Like any team would have to deal with that bench unit. That would have been hell.
Well, there was rumors, right, that Dante didn't want to stay in New York.
No, no, all that was false. All that was false.
That's what I was wondering. How can the guy who had his best season want to leave?
Yeah, especially the love that city was giving him. Nah, it just didn't make any sense. But that's the era we're in, man. Right now, so many rumors are flying off the windmill. Shit is crazy, man.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was false for the longest time, bro. I can't lie to you.
some of these anonymous sources, man, they gotta get we gotta see the references on those, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
we need a saw. We need a
some
sword.
of these anonymous sources sounding like they kind of seem like the P Diddy files, man, where nobody knows what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, we're all just left in a weird space.
Yeah,
But dude, some of these guys is weird because like I think Snoop B, like that guy has a big platform, but I never seen him get anything right. Chris Hayes has some questionable like analysis.
yeah, but a lot of this, I mean, this is the era that the league is in right now. It's a lot of like TMZ type coverage. You know,
Yeah,
people don't really wait till the stories develop. They sort of wait to get the quick hits.
yeah, 100%. But dude, all right, let's flip it to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Uh,
Well, like I think what they did, they bought flexibility, right,
or
to keep Anthony long terms.
much
Like,
flexibility.
yeah, because Randall's what? This is his final year of his contract, and then he could either like opt in or decide to leave. If he opts in, they could trade him too if he has a really good season. Like this gives him a lot of flexibility. I think it ensures Nas Reed's future because dude, eventually he was going to be a starter, right? Like I doubt
Mhm.
that guy wants to be like a six man of the year his whole career. So I think it guarantees that he will be start off. He will become the second option eventually. Like they'll mold him into the second option. Hopefully McDaniels is able to make a jump that we're hoping for.
Now,
Like I think he,
wait, hold on, my bad. Let me ask you about Nas Reed since you mentioned him. Now, do you think they
yeah,
double down on Nas Reed?
double down on, yeah, 100%. He had a good postseason. He's shown to be a good defender and a good offensive player. Like I'll even argue, he had a better postseason than Karl-Anthony Towns.
Okay, but here's another question I got for you. Now, what about the spacing? This is gonna be interesting for Edwards. You got Nas Reed up in there. You got Randall up in there.
Yeah,
Versus Towns, kind of like spread it out a little bit. This
yeah, he
is
spread it out. And you're kind of like now the banking is like, yeah, you need an inconsistent 3 point shooter and Jaden McDaniels to be consistent too, right? So there's a lot of questions that go around that. But one thing I got to give credit is I think now you have a second playmaker in Julius Randle. So
and
if the shots go in,
you got Dante to shoot the threes, but
yeah,
they better hope that stays consistent.
100%. I think their bench has improved a lot too. J- you got Dante and Nas Reed
Yeah, you
and
got
Nickel Alexander
Dillingham.
Walker. Yeah, Dillingham. So they have a lot of assets in that regard. Like I don't think this was a complete loss, but I think this is a team you just kind of watch and hope it makes sense in the regular season because on paper it makes zero sense.
Yeah, it's so crazy that they're still over the the second apron even after this trade.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
this.
an expensive team, bro. Like this was expected, right? I
Mhm.
think we all expected it because, like, sure, 1 or 2 years they can be good, but then the third year when teams catch up, or teams like the Rockets maybe or Oklahoma finally become title contenders, then you kind of have to be like, yo, we're stuck. So I think this is kind of like this trade was to like kind of protect their future because besides Rudy Gobert, who's really an aging player on that team, really. I think Dante's at his peak if he's staying. I don't know how like his contract situation is. Obviously,
Rudy,
Anthony's young and Nas
Rudy's
is young.
yeah, Rudy's contract is interesting because he has a player option for next year, so he could opt
Yeah,
out of that and actually try to get a longer term deal.
yeah,
So I mean,
and he'll probably get paid because he just came off of a Defensive Player of the Year in this contract, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
um, this team is still super expensive. I'm just wondering why does much of the kind of the national sports media kind of all of a sudden still put the T-Wolves as title contenders with Randall, but they didn't do that. They didn't feel the same with the Knicks.
the
That's
Knicks
one.
are title contenders, man. Everyone's on the Celtics juice right now.
Yeah, it's just it's very strange.
Why? Who do they put over? Who do they put over the Knicks?
No, but I'm saying it's the way they're treating Julius Randle when he's on the Knicks. It's almost like they need to trade him. They need to trade him. And then when he's on a
Yeah.
different team, oh, he's a title contender. Because
They-
it's the coverage around the Knicks is always funny because if you look at Randall's stats, 24, 10, and 5 in all efficient numbers, and then you look at Towns, he averages 19, I think 10 and like 3 or 2. So it's
Yeah.
it's not even it's like, and the Knicks had to give away a pick and Dante. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this trade is this trade is it's quite interesting. Quite interesting.
Bro, one thing it is, I don't know what it is with the NBA media, but it's a lot of inconsistencies, right? One day they'll
Very.
praise you, another day they'll shit on you. But Randall himself, man, he's a New York legend, in my opinion. Jersey retirement's probably far fetched, but I think he'll be acknowledged like later on down the line as to be like a Knicks legend.
Yeah, he has to be. I believe what he made the All Star team 3 times.
Yeah,
Yeah, All NBA twice. You know, this is a well,
like yeah,
in six
he has a
seasons
great
with the
resume.
Knicks. Yeah, he has a. I
Yeah,
mean, not
2019.
yeah, not for the Hall of Fame, but like for recognition. Like this is a good fucking player, man. This is a good
Oh,
player.
100%. I mean, dude, he came in when nobody wanted to come in with the Knicks. And that was the offseason. They made a bunch of retarded moves. You remember they had Marcus Morris, Bobby Portis, Julius Randle. Like, nobody could make sense of what the Knicks were doing that offseason. And he was able to kind of change it around, you know. And let's be honest, like, the talent around him, they weren't really anything great. Like, besides, like, Brunson later on. Who can you really name? Alfred Payton? Well, D Rose, that's the guy you can praise, but come on, he's like at the end of his career. Um, RJ Barrett, young RJ Barrett's interesting, but he wasn't anything worth of a star. So it's like, you know, like for the amount of players he had, or the amount of like talent around him, he made the most of it. So he deserves credit.
Correct.